Escomatic coil-fed automatic lathe, model D2 and D4. Setup operator training system. Lesson 13, producing the first part at setup. Besides having a good understanding of the layout sheet and part print for a job, a direct, orderly setup procedure is also necessary. When you start your setup, look at the layout sheet for information on the type and size of stock to be used for the job. Check the stock against the information on the layout sheet and the mill tag attached to the coil. Check the coil of stock for damage, then mic the stock. Now find the top of the coil. Adjust the derailleur height and place the stock on the derailleur. Some shops may change the type of coolant used for a particular stock. Ask your supervisor if you have any questions. Check the coolant supply and fill the reservoir if necessary. Next, check the layout sheet for the production rate and the production rate gear combination to be used. Compare the layout sheet information against the production rate chart. Find the position of the production rate belt to be used with the correct gear combination. Now change the production rate gears in the main gearbox. Remove the gears from the previous job. Install a new combination of gears for your job. Make sure you place the correct gears in their correct position. Also check the oil level in the gearbox. Fill the gearbox if necessary. Also check the oil level in the hydraulic unit. If necessary, fill the hydraulic unit. After replacing the production rate gears, hand crank the machine through one cycle. This will make sure the main camshaft will be stopped at the 0 point. Now, if necessary, change the position of the vertical production rate belt in the base of the machine. Check your layout sheet for the tool head speed to be used for the job. Change the position of the tool head belt if necessary. Also, while changing the belt position, check the belts for cracks or wear. Replace the belts if necessary. Now check the layout sheet for the drill RPM. Change the position of the belt on the drill RPM pulleys. Remember to consult the belt chart on the machine to make sure the belts are in the proper position. Now remove the stock feed rolls from the previous job. Check the markings and the type of grooves on the new feed rolls against the type and size stock to be used. Install the feed rolls onto the machine. Remember to mount the feed rolls with the size markings facing out. Next, remove the tool cams from the previous job and install the tool cams for the new job onto the machine. Make sure the cam 0 marks are aligned and the cams are in their proper positions. Check the layout sheet for the production rate for the job. Use this information to determine the stock straightener camshaft ratio. If the production rate is 32 parts per minute or greater, a 2-to-1 ratio will be used. If the production rate is less than 32 parts per minute, a 1-to-1 ratio will be used. Mount the proper size sprocket wheel onto the main camshaft. Install and tighten the two holding nuts. Next, remove the cover for the stock straightener motor. If necessary, move the position of the straightener camshaft double sprocket wheel to align with the main camshaft sprocket wheel. Also, change the position of the drive chain if necessary. Next, check the layout sheet for the straightener rotor speed for the job. If necessary, change the top pulley straightener belt and bottom pulley. When changing the belts and pulleys, check the condition of the top pulley and the condition of the belt used. Replace both if necessary. Remember to consult the chart on the motor cover to assure you have the proper combination of pulleys and belts for the job. Next, mount the clutch cam onto the main camshaft. Now mount the second feed cam or return cam onto the main camshaft. Align the correct ratio hole on the return cam with the peg on the clutch cam. If the second feed cam is used, align the hole on the second feed cam to the clutch cam peg. Next, mount the first feed cam. Make sure both feed cam 0 marks face the operator side of the machine and the 0 marks are at the top of the cams. Lock the cams in place. If only one feed cam is used, mount that cam directly after the return cam. Make sure the 0 mark is at the top of the cam. Thread the cam lock nut against the cams. If possible, roughly align the return cam to the high point of the feed cam. Temporarily lock the cams in position. On the Model D2, mount the collet cam to the cam holder. Loosen the cam holder and align the cam 0 mark under its cam follower. Lock the cam holder in position. Now check the layout sheet for the ratio of stock feed attachment for the job. This information can be specified, or you can find the information from the cam stroke information column or by checking the type of return cam used. Find the feed length for the job from the layout sheet or part print information. Adjust the feed attachment for the feed length. Total part length plus cutoff tool width. Also, make sure the cam followers are positioned and aligned. Mount the attachment to the machine. Now the proper timing and carryover action of the cams on the main camshaft can be set. If 2 feed cams are used, loosen the cam lock nut and align both cam 0 marks under their cam followers. Lock the cams in place with the lock nut. If a return cam is used, you must properly align the point on the return cam where the feed will be disengaged to the high point of the feed cam. If the return portion of the cams are not visible, hand crank the machine until the return portion of the cams can be viewed. Stop hand cranking the machine when the feed cam follower is over a radius line near high point of the feed cam. This line will be used as a reference to make sure the cams do not move when the feed cam lock nut is loosened. Loosen the cam lock nut and move the return cam into position with the high point of the feed cam. Make sure the return cam covers the slot in the feed cam. When using an adjustable return segment, loosen and properly adjust the segment to cover the slot in the feed cam. After adjustment, lock the segment in place. Make sure the feed cam radius line is still under the cam follower. Tighten the cam lock nut. Continue to hand crank the machine back to 0 point. Make sure the return cam allows the cam follower to pass over the slot in the feed cam. Next, the timing between the main camshaft and the stock straightener camshaft must be set. Hand crank the machine until the feed cam followers are at the point where stock feed will be disengaged. At this point on the feed cam, the hydraulic plunger should have started to move into the hydraulic control unit. At this point on the main camshaft, the straightener camshaft should be at 0. 0 of the straightener camshaft does not necessarily correspond to 0 of the main camshaft. The straightener camshaft 0 corresponds to the beginning of the straightening operation, the start of the feed lever return, and part cutoff portion of the cutting cycle. Loosen the large lock nut on the tool cam end of the main camshaft. This will allow the sprocket wheel to turn without disturbing the tool cam settings. Place a wrench on the overbend straightener jaw cam lock nut. Using the wrench, rotate the straightener camshaft until the 0 point of the overbend straightener jaw cam is under its cam roller. Tighten the large lock nut on the tool cam end of the main camshaft. Bring the chain tension adjuster back into position to correct the chain tension. Tighten the tension adjuster set screw. Hand crank the machine. Check to make sure the feed lever is fully returned while the hydraulic plunger is still all the way into the hydraulic control unit. Return the main camshaft to its 0 reference point. Check your layout sheet for the stock size to be used. Replace the stock support bushing at the front of the stock straightener with the proper size bushing for the job. Again, using the stock size as your reference, select the proper straightener jaw mounting position on the rotor. Install the straightener jaw holder to the rotor. Also select the proper size straightener jaws for the job. Install the fixed straightener jaws into their holders. Also install the overbend straightener jaw into its holder. Using a rag, straighten the front of the coil of stock by hand and thread the stock through to the stock feed rolls. Adjust the feed roll clamping pressure on the stock. Now adjust each straightener jaw for the proper operation and straighten the front of the coil of stock using the manual straightener lever. Using the information found on your part print and layout sheet, calculate the slide travel. Remember to multiply the result by 2 if the stock straightener ratio is 2:1. Loosen the slide bracket lock nut and adjust the front of the bracket to indicate correct travel. Tighten the bracket lock nut. Loosen the stock clamping jaws and properly adjust the clamping jaws position and pressure to properly hold the stock. Lock the adjustments in place. Using the front of the straightened coil of stock, check the stock guide bushing for proper fit. Install the guide bushing into the tool head. Check the cutting tools for the job for proper shape and tool width as specified on the layout sheet. Properly clean the tool holders. Mount the tools into their proper tool positions on the tool head. Loosen the counterbalance lock nuts for both tool positions. Mount the tool centering scope in position. Properly center each tool. Next, check the layout sheet for information on the setting of the thrust pin index line. With the tool cam follower at 0 reference of the tool cams, adjust tool number 2 and tool number 1 micrometers to position the index line. Adjust the tool cam follower tips to be even. Next, set the axial tool adjustment to mid-range. Adjust the tool not used for cutting off approximately 5/1000ths offset farther from the stock guide bushing than the cutoff tool. Move the bushing into position. Check that both tools clear the bushing. Lock the bushing in position. Insert the straightened stock through the machine and the stock guide bushing. Mount the tool distance gauge to the tool head. Adjust both tools to the safe distance specified on the layout sheet. Lock the tool holder counterbalances in place. Remount the centering scope to the machine. Looking at the display, each circle is spaced apart by 4/1000ths. Using the display, you can check the approximate tool settings before running the machines. The layout sheet will specify in the sequence and description column the distance the cutoff tool must travel past center to cleanly cut off the part. Usually this is 5/1000ths. Hand crank the machine to the cutoff point of the tool cam. Hold the roller end of the cutoff tool's counterbalance to the cone. Adjust the cutoff tool micrometer to move the tool to approximately the correct setting. If a knurled tool is used, hand crank the machine to the high point of the knurled tool cam. Adjust the knurled tool micrometer until the edge of the knurled tool is 10 to 15/1000ths from the edge of the stock guide bushing. On the model D2, next select and install the counter collet to the collet holder tube. Assemble the complete collet holder assembly. Install the collet open-close sleeve and tension adjustment nut into the collet carrier plate. Install the collet holder assembly into the collet open and close sleeve. With a piece of straightened stock, check and adjust collet centering. If the part to be produced is a simple part with a convenient gripping surface, adjust the collet position and gripping pressure. If the part to be produced is complex and has a small or hard-to-grip surface, move the collet assembly back out of the way. Start the machine using standard procedures. Run the machine and allow the first piece to be cut off. Push the hand wheel in just before the cutoff of the second piece. Stop the machine. Now adjust the position and gripping pressure of the collet on the part. This is a rough setting. When the part is brought to tolerance, fine adjustments will be necessary. This completes your television training tape on producing the first part at setup. You may watch this tape as many times as necessary to fully understand the material. When you have finished, return to the operator book for your next step.